So let's not really run past that right quick, but you said your son at 21 years old was a six-figure earner sitting at the computer trading.
Yes.
And people hear that, and the first thing they say is, "I can't learn that. I can't do that. That's those words you're using. Those are some big words." You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you're telling me that, and I think you all said you had a lady husband that was 85 and 86 years old or something like that.
Absolutely, we do. Because you got to make a decision you want to learn, no matter what it is that you're going to learn. You know, we go to college for, you know, we started this conversation out about college, and people are repping their schools and very excited about them and happy and things of that nature. But I think the behind that is a 4-year minimum commitment that you're going to be there without a promise of a job. And the reality is 87% of people, right? 87% of people, or somewhere around there, I know it fluctuates, are not working in their field. So if you really want to put the spin on it and tell the truth, that's an 87% failure rate, right? Mm-hmm. But we're still going. We're still paying those fees and that tuition, and you're not working in that. So if we really, really look at it and we really, really, you know, dig behind it, is you got to say, yes, I'm willing to learn something, because you committed for 4 years. What is 12 months could change your life?
Mental toughness.
Listen, stop feeling sorry for you. Come on, man. What's wrong with you?
The mental toughness mindset.
I had to go to grow.
Sam C. Martin Luther King.
You got challenges that you're going to run across.
All right, so welcome to another episode of Elite Psyche, the Mental Toughness Podcast. Well, it's not podcast anymore. It's a show. Really big show. We're not a pod, we're a show. So, but today, got some special people I want to bring up. You know, normally we interview what we would call elite individuals, the ones who have had success in life. And normally when you have success, that means you've gone through a lot. You know, you have to be mentally tough to win in life. And most of the people that we interview are the ones who kind of tell their story about what they did to get to where they are. And today's going to be a little bit like that also. I got some guys from the BYOB Worldwide Movement that's going to be on today. And I want to talk to those guys about how they got started, what the company is about, all the good stuff. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to bring up Mr. Gerald Rogers, Miss Tasha Dyer, and also Mr. Marvin Green, Coach Green. All right, so let's get started today. I want to talk to you guys about the BYOB Worldwide Movement and what's going on with you guys, and how did you actually get started, all that good stuff. So I'm going to start with Mr. Gerald Rogers and give us your title and just a little bit on how the company actually got started.
So I'm Gerald D. Rogers, the CNO, visionary founder of the Beyond Bank movement. And it was really birthed out of a passion of just teaching people how to really understand how to make money work for themselves. And me having a background in investment banking, commercial real estate development, and having an affinity to the industry of direct sales that we're marketing, I thought it was our point to make sure that like this information has been hidden in plain sight far too long. So being able to teach people how to do exactly what the banks do with our money every single day, understanding how to take advantage of And the foreign exchange market is one major component. I mean, you're talking about $7.5 trillion every single day that the average person has access to. And so we put a platform together to be able to teach them how to make sure money works for them versus the traditional method. All of us were taught how to go work for money. So that was the basis of why we got started. And this is the largest economic empowerment movement in the history of mankind. So we've had the privilege of being behind the veil, understanding this dynamic. So we thought it was our call, our purpose to share this information with families, loved ones, near and afar. So that's the backdrop of the Be Your Own Bank movement.
Okay. And when did you all get started?
We actually started the movement in 2018, and we've advanced where the infrastructure that we put in place as recent as February of 2023. And so now we're actually doing business right now in 15 countries on 4 different continents. So we are a global movement, having fun, challenging people, challenging old mindsets, old paradigms. And the game has been set. We have the rules, we have the blueprint. So now all you have to do is be willing to follow the yellow brick road.
Okay. Give us a little of your background, though. You know, what was the name of that college you attended?
The most prestigious HBC university in the universe, Florida A&M University, the highest of 7 hills. Well, we only put out quality.
Okay.
You know, there are other schools out there, you know, they focus on quantity, but only quality.
Okay. I'll remember that. So what happened after FAMU? What did you do? What
So my initial pursuit of economic empowered wealth was, I had a dream to become a professional NFL football player, and didn't understand at the time that, being a professional athlete is a business, and it's really, you're just a high paid employee. So I did have some free agent tryouts with the Carolina Panthers, the Cincinnati Bengals, and then the CFL, Toronto organized. And at that time, they were actually trying to make inroads to the continental United States with the Birmingham Barracudas. And guess what? They didn't hire me. So
Okay.
It was at that point, I went through a state of depression too, because, you had these,
Right. Growing up,
thinking, but it was a numbers game. It was simply a numbers game, so, and then we just started pursuing, being able to have our degree, it did give us an entry point, but, I didn't want to find myself exchanging time for dollars for the rest of my life and building someone else's dream. So we just started pursuing, anything pertaining to wealth and wealth creation, because that's not in the curriculum at any university.
Right.
And then you look at statistically, 5% of the population, they control 95% of the wealth. So it's because they operate and they use a different recipe. So I just made it my point to understand that recipe and try to share with as many people as possible.
Okay. So you were in real estate and banking and things of that sort before you got here, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Dyer.
Yes. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm awesome.
All right. So what's your title? And tell us your story, because I think you're like some kind of big major or something in the military.
Yeah. So I actually am the co-founder of the BYOB movement. And, I actually come from very humble background and beginnings, which is why I'm so passionate about what we do and changing lives. I come from a single parent household. My mother was terminally ill. I'm the oldest. So I'm what I like to consider myself being called a grown child, because there were things that I did that I would not have had to do had my mother not been sick. Worrying if we were going to keep a roof over our head, what we were going to eat for dinner, and those sorts of things I really wanted to shield my siblings from. So my story began, I left and went to college. So I got a little HBCU experience in there as well. Y'all like to joke, but I went to Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta. It actually wasn't financially feasible though. It didn't make sense financially for my family. And that's ultimately how I ended up joining the Army to finish college. And so I enlisted. But somewhere around the beginning of my career and in that those first years of my career is when my mother transitioned. And in that transition, I really began to understand what she had been sharing, the things that she had really wanted us to understand. Because I hear you talk about that foundation all the time, and I can appreciate her for that, because one of the things she used to always tell us is our circumstances don't dictate our reality. She never wanted us to get caught up in where we were financially and what was going on. And she wanted to make sure that didn't define us, that we could strive for better, we would have more. We just had to position ourselves when we had to want it. And so I ended up in the military. I became a field grade officer, not the normal path if you enlist. And I retired as a major in the United States Army. So at my retirement, though, I became a financial advisor. Initially, I was in finance, and then I worked in logistics. I did a lot for debt management, collection, military payroll, all those sort of travel expenses, all of those things for the military and, Germany and the whole, the whole country. But then we transitioned, and that actually was my first niche at the foreign exchange, changing currencies and things of that nature for the government. But ultimately, when I retired, I realized I wanted to get back into that arena, and I became a licensed financial advisor. And what I began to realize really quickly is my clients had to have money already. They had to have money. They had to have resources. I couldn't work with you if you were still trying to figure it out. And that's not where I wanted to be. So I walked away from that. I do have a background in real estate as well, insurance, all of those sorts of things. But I wanted to be in a position where I could pay it forward, because where I was in life, had it not been someone willing to pay it forward, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So I was glad I was in a position to really take advantage of those things and looking for opportunity. And so I just want to be in a position where we present opportunity to where it can be paid forward, and that individuals have opportunity. And so when I actually met Gerald, he explained to me what he wanted to do. We sat down, we had a meeting, and I caught the vision at that moment, and we went to work. I just want to make sure that everybody has a fighting chance. It's up to them to take advantage of it. It's up to them to say, yes, I want it. It's up to them. But if they don't know it's there, then they would never take advantage of it.
So we're not going to let you just jump over that major thing, because how many female majors percentage-wise are in the Army, and especially African American? So can I know you don't know the number. You roundabout.
No, I do know as you climb that ladder, as you climb that political ladder, because it's very political in the military, I do know it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And I began to fight the same way you hear that fight in the civilian world, about, how it narrows and the people out to keep you from progressing. Because I walked into a room, and when I made major, even when the notifications came out and I heard them telling, talking about it at the table, how she make major, But you're not looking at my evaluations where it says, I'm the number one officer that Colonel is ranking. I'm, all of the things I accomplished. When you go home, I'm still at work. I'm fighting for my soldiers. So I earned it. Don't get me wrong, I earned it. But at the same time, you still have to fight all of the naysayers and everybody that doesn't believe that you should achieve because you are African American and because you're a female. No. And you walk into a room with a lot of men that can't handle the fact that you are a determined female that's gonna make it happen regardless. And so,
wow. Did you do any wartime? Were you actually in a?
Yes, I was in Iraq and Kuwait. I was in Iraq. What is that? Back in 90. I want to say in 2000, early 2000, somewhere in the 2000 range. But then I was in 2009, 2010. I was in Kuwait, and what we did in Kuwait is we oversaw the Iraqi drawdown, where we had to account for all the equipment and everything that came out of Iraq. I handled all container management for Kuwait and Egypt. And we did route management for all of the convoys, the gun trucks, all of the things that went up into theater, and we would have to go in as well and make sure, the routes, making sure the soldiers got the proper sleep, food, all of the things that they needed to be successful. But my office, especially me and my supervisor, we were mainly responsible for keeping accountability of all the equipment and everything that came out of Iraq at that time.
Before I move on to Mr. Green here, give us a war story, one scary one that you like. Wow, why am I even over here? Lord have mercy. I should
trying to send me back to counseling.
Yeah, give me I need to hear. Yeah, let me hear one of those.
Well, I have a couple, but I mean, no, the first time, it's two that kind of stick out though. When I first got there, what they do is they put you, when they're taking you in the theater, you get up in the back of these trucks. You can't see anything. You just see things flying overhead. And that's your welcome to Iraq. And as we are driving, as we're driving and everything, of course, you're seeing bullets flying. You seeing things just kind of popping up over your head. And I was laying ruck on my back, kind of laying back with my weapon. And it's just, you just laying there and you just kind of thinking like, what in the world am I doing over here? Why am I here? Because that was that initial. And when I got to the base, my colonel, all the officers, you have to go and have that one-on-one with him. And he put us in a gator, like the little things you see people riding around for fun, the little golf cart looking things. Yeah. We outside the perimeter and we just riding around. And he's driving it fast, but it was like, this is your welcome. This is what we're gonna do. And if we get shot, if we make it past this and you meant to be here, like can we not do that? But as far as combat, the other one that kind of sticks out as far as combat, I'm logistics, I am operations, I am money, finance, right? That's why he put me in a medical company. And don't ask me why. He was like, personnel equipment, that's all you got to worry about. But in that company, I got to see all of the injuries, all of those things. So to actually see someone get shot, to see, when you get the income and the shrapnel metal coming everywhere. And then not only do you see it happen, you see someone lose their life, but, whether it was the Kuwaitis or the Iraqis that are helping, well, not really in Kuwait so much, but the Iraqis who are helping us, and fighting with us, but you also see them trying to save their lives and stuff, and blood and those things already stress me out, but to have to see that and to kind of be in the midst of that, it's a little
wow. Well, I want to send you back, so let's move on to Mr. Green here, my man. My man, Coach Green. I've been knowing Coach Green for quite a while, probably since 2004 or 2005, and he is the guy who actually introduced me to y'all. I'm gonna bring it up in a minute, but Marvin, tell us about your background and your title actually with the company, with BYOB.
Currently, with the BYOB movement, I am the Chief Brand Officer with the movement. First of all, I also want to say just thank you for having me here this afternoon to just kind of be able to share a little bit about what we do and what we're doing and how we're trying to change the lives of people all over the world. I'm originally from Chicago, and in 1988, I had the good fortune of also attending Florida A&M University. It was a great experience. It was an experience that I think about and I'll cherish for the rest of my life. But I came actually I wanted to be a sports agent. I called myself going to school to get a business degree, and I was going to go to law school and eventually represent athletes, primarily Black athletes, who didn't necessarily have the representation that they should have as they go into the professional sports space. And I was fortunate enough, like I said, the business school at Florida A&M University is one of the best in the country. But one of the things that the business school was teaching a lot was about working in the corporate environment. And nothing against corporate, the corporate environment. It just wasn't for me. The suit and ties every single day and trying to kind of navigate that landscape. I wanted to do something different. And so once the sports agency thing took off and it went in a different direction, because you got to be on a hustle and bustle, right? You got to find the athletes, you got to entertain them, you got to, do what you can to try to get them and woo them and all that type of thing. And I wanted to be a family man. I wanted to, have that type of life. And at the time, I thought that, being a family man, trying to be out there in the sports agency space was kind of a conflict of interest, especially some of the places you have to take the athletes, or you had to take the athletes in order to entertain them, right? And,
I know about that.
Right. And so I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. But eventually I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman at Florida A&M who was in the recreational space. And he talked about a vision of building a recreational facility on our campus. And the long and short of it, we partnered up, and I was fortunate enough to eventually become his associate director. So I worked at Florida A&M University for over 25 years. I was the associate director of recreation. I eventually became the director of student activities, which means I ran for about 4.5 years, every single homecoming, parents weekend, a parents and family weekend, homecoming parade, Greek life. Anybody that pledged at FAMU for almost 20 plus years, they had to either come through me because I was a part of the Panhellenic Council as the president, Panhellenic Council as the advisor, or I was over Panhell as student activity director. So, just a lot of people that came through FAMU, I had the good fortune of being able to interact with, and I call it some of the movers and shakers. I was also over the Student Government Association, of course, big budgets too, $1 million, $3 million. And then eventually I landed as well in athletics, and I was the associate director of athletics. Now, on top of that, for 18 years, while I did all three of those jobs that I just told you about, I was the men's golf coach. And that was great. I mean, it was great to be able to get involved in a sport that I didn't necessarily grow up playing. I got into that sport later in life. I was 21 years old when I took up golf, and I became a pretty decent golfer pretty fast. I started teaching beginning golf class, and before I knew it, almost 8 years later, I was coaching a team. We were featured on HBO Real Sports with Brian Gumbel about how good our team was. One of our main competitors who happened to be Jackson State University. Eddie Payton at Jackson State, the older brother of Walter Payton, the legendary running back for the Chicago Bears, was the men's golf coach there. And so, just during that time, man, there's just so many experiences that I had as a university administrator, as a university, a Division I golf coach, that kind of led me to the space where, I am now, man. So sports has been my background. The business of sports has been my background, how sports brings people together. And as you get a little bit older, you still don't mind those environments, but you also want to be able to leave a legacy, be able to live a certain type of lifestyle. And that's what kind of brought me a little bit to the network marketing space. I think I saw my first network marketing presentation in 1995. It was an Amway presentation. I'll never forget it. And I remember the person saying 6 to get 4 to get 2. Never forget it. 6 to get 4 to get 2. And talking about residual income. If you got residual bills, why not have residual income? Do something one time and get paid for it over and over again. And that started the journey into network marketing. So I always knew that you had to have something coming in on top of your linear income, which was my day-to-day job. You want to have something coming in a residual income space. And then eventually, as you get older, you need to have some passive income. And so when I was fortunate enough to reconnect with Gerald Rogers, and I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about that, he happens to be from the class of 88 at Florida A&M University as well. And so when we reconnected probably in 2020, and I say reconnected, just kind of having some conversations, he started talking more about passive income. How do you make your money make money? And that's something I necessarily had never focused on, because I knew how to work for money. I knew a little bit about residual income as far as in the network marketing space, but I didn't necessarily know how to have my money make money. and that was the piece that keep me in there.
Okay. Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.